It's,
It's okay, we're gonna just wait a couple minutes, see if a couple more members will show up. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought Jason said he's gonna come too.
Yeah, I talked to him today.
I have this notice, I know.
Oh, great.
Sorry, Rob will take the receipts there.
okay, we're over.
That's the receipt from the
Yep.
post office.
Yep.
And that's your copy of your list
Okay.
of names.
Thank you.
Wow. Actually,
No, that's
it's
fine.
irrelevant, but it's a two-family house.
Yeah.
Yep. Good. You gotta ask me questions, I know a lot of answers.
Where's the letter? Oh, yeah. Wow, sent a lot.
I was surprised. I didn't realize I had that many close neighbors. We did review it, Diane. That's what the computer's for.
Yeah, probably with the gully there, whatever we want to call it, not being like ownership, probably pulls in everybody, you know, as far as joining across the way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing. There's nothing. Let's take the other one.
And there is a sign-in sheet.
So we have enough. Okay, so maybe some people show up as we get started, you know, we'll see what happens. It stopped raining, so maybe people are working on their houses or whatever.
Sunny now.
I'd like to call the May 1st, 2023 Village of Fleischman Planning Board meeting or whatever. Can we start by doing the pledge of allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I think what we'll do is we'll do number 2 first. We'll have the public hearing and then we'll go to the regular meeting. So we have application BFSP 0310-003-23B. Abbott Jackson would like to operate an Airbnb at 106 Little Red Hill Road, tax map number 287.13-2-1. I'd like to open the public hearing and do you want to give a little explanation of your project for people who weren't here at the last meeting?
Sure.
Is that okay, sir? Yeah, we're okay. Go ahead.
What I'm hoping to do there is, well, it's a 2-family home, and we plan on doing a Airbnb in that property. We purchased it as a foreclosure, done extensive renovations. Redoing the electric, redoing the plumbing. And other cosmetic work. At this point, we're having a point that we could. Put it into, it's in condition, we could do it as an Airbnb. And that's pretty much the sum and substance.
Thank you. Any members of the public want to be heard on this issue? Yes.
Well, I was told by Mr. Jackson that there was a question regarding the parking of the facility. And as the road to my house is exactly opposite, I'd like to speak to that point. In general, people coming down the Little Red Hill Road tend to really speed over that little rise right before it dips down by my road. And I would suggest, in any case, whatever the board decides, that they put some type of sign where it says Village of Flashman's that might say, slow down or something of that nature. Because I know when I turn into my own road, I have to come to a stop and really look to see who's coming down that way. So regardless of what, what the board should decide about this, I think that's a point that should be made. I also know that Mr. Jackson has basically a little parking area, which is further down from his house, which gives access that you could see up and down the road who's coming.
You can see up and down the road,
From his
parking
Place.
area.
right below his house, he has a little parking area where there are at least room for 2 or 3 cars that can pull in on a perpendicular way. But you can, from that vantage point, because it's below the rise, you can see cars coming down or cars coming up.
Yeah, I disagree, but that's okay. Anybody else?
Can I comment on it?
Yeah, sure. Go
I
ahead.
don't know, what's the procedure is. Yeah, I did have an opportunity with, I think her first name is Diana, I don't know her last name, so I'm sorry.
Can you speak up, please?
I had an opportunity to meet with Diane, I don't know her last name, so I'm sorry if I'm not being polite.
No, it's okay.
But in any case, I went into the computer there and she was good enough to help me. Up the hill, you have 137 feet of clear sight up the hill from that parking area that Anita Rubin is talking about. So it's a clear sight, it's not obstructed in any way, there's no curve, and down the hill, there's 192 feet of clear sight. That's what you have in terms of that Red Hill Road.
Who determined those distances?
I went over it on the computer with Diane.
How do you do it on a computer, sight distance?
There's a commit tool. I didn't know what we were doing sight distance. He asked me to go from one point to another point on
Or
the.
just the frontage or just the property that he has,
No, it's
No,
not just. the
it's a
front.
regular, on the map at the commit tool on the Delaware County site.
Mhm.
I took and I went from one point to the other, and it measures distance, how far apart those 2 spaces are. So he asked me how far apart they were, and I gave him the measurement. So that's how far apart those 2 distances were. So from point A to point B was 1, and then he had me measure from, I don't know, the bottom where he's gonna have that parking area below his house.
Well, it's an existing. parking.
Okay, he had me measure from, and he pointed out a spot from there to another spot, and I measured that, and he said, okay, give me the measurement. So I gave him the measurement.
Okay. So he gave you specific points and you measured them on the common site. But if there was no relationship like sight distance, you set up a point at like 42 inches high, right? So many feet back from the edge of the pavement, and you see how far up the road you can see. That's a sight distance measurement, nothing like that.
Rob, can I say something to that?
Sure, Carl, you can say
Our
whatever you
zoning
like.
says 70 feet clearance on both sides. That's our zoning. So I don't know what the argument is.
we had a discussion last month that, number one, you have to back out onto the road to get out of the parking space.
Well, can I? Chairman,
I mean,
To elevate that, how about putting a sign up, backing in, or, you know, you see, have it a parking lots where they say you only backing in, as a driving in, I'm saying. So you can,
back
so
out.
that way you always drive onto the street. But just put a sign there, only backing up. You know, if that's a problem.
Mhm.
All of this might be somewhat of a moot point. Because I was kind of blindsided when, you know, the concern came up for the last meeting about happened.
There's a chair over there.
Very good.
Sorry, sir.
I'll wait till it's done. And so with that, I went back to the house, looked at the parking area. When I realized you don't have to back out at all. There's enough room to park parallel with the road. You can park head into, there's a retaining wall, and you can park head into that and back onto the parking area, not onto the road.
Mhm.
The measurement on that.
So if
parking
all
lot-
the parking spaces are filled, if you say you have 4 or 5 parking spaces and there's 4 or 5 cars there.
Well, I wouldn't plan on having 5, I don't see any need for 5, there's two apartments, so I can't imagine there'll be more than 4 cars.
Mhm.
And the measurement on that parking area is 29. Areas approve on it. My concern there, I think, I'm bad with names, if forgive me, the
Carl.
gentleman, Carl, he pointed out, and I'm concerned with it as well, because where the drop off is down into the stream, I plan on putting some sort of, I think Wadless sells these big cinder, not cinder, but concrete blocks. And I would put it up, you know, along with the stream is, so nobody's going rolling down the stream. That would be my concern.
Mhm.
And that's what you have there. You have 29 by 32 as it is now. It's 29 wide and 32 long.
Okay.
So I don't even know if you have to back out onto Red Hill Road.
Are you up to speed on what we're talking about?
A little bit of detail there.
Is there any more comment from the public? Because this is the public, right?
Just a general comment about that entire area. If you come down that road at high speed, which I've seen people do time and again, it is one dangerous area. And at the very least, like what has been suggested with regard to signage, to slow down to whatever the village limit is at that point, or even less, to navigate that area. Somebody's going to get killed. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, okay. Any other comments from the public? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and then we're going to discuss this in the regular meeting. Okay. Okay. So we have the minutes from last month's meeting, April 3rd, 2023. Everybody chance to review them? Any corrections or changes or?
They weren't here for, so they couldn't possibly answer that.
Yeah, I just gave them.
Yeah.
comments.
Well,
So,
no, they weren't here for the
okay,
discussions.
how about you?
Yeah, I read it.
You're fine. So you have a motion approved.
Yes.
Motion to approve. I'll second.
Okay,
Minutes are approved.
excellent. Look at this thing, thanks, then.
Okay, what discussion does the board want to have about this application? We can have, with the public can't weigh in, we can definitely talk to the applicant. We have Carl here, the code enforcement officer.
Can you turn a car around in there?
Mr. Jackson says that you can. Right, that's what you just said, sir. Yeah.
So your tourist home, I believe this is a tourist home under your zoning law, says she'll have 1 off-street parking space per guest room plus 1 space for local property manager. unsure what the guest room situation is, if that's units or bedrooms, or I'm not really privy to the layout of the house.
Mhm.
And then the section also does say off-street parking spaces shall be arranged so that guests or occupants will not be required to back onto or off of any public road to access the property.
Brendan, do you know where we are, where this is?
Mhm.
Okay, you have any discussion, you want to talk about it?
I think that, as Anita said, putting a sign for, slowing down is probably a great idea for that area.
Mhm.
How many bedrooms do they have in the house?
There's two bedroom homes, so four.
So
bedrooms.
4 bedrooms. So that means you need basically 5 parking spaces.
Right.
But we have, I don't know, I don't want to be out of order. so
No,
I
go
don't
ahead,
know.
this is pretty
I wouldn't
informative.
have formal this as a word. They have the parking area, then up at the house, there's a garage with a parking, or,
It's
in the garage, that's off, that's always empty. If I park my car generally in front of the garage, that's where I park. I could create, if need be, I can create additional parking down in the parking area down below, this additional area, there's a couple of small trees that I could take out and repit and put shale down, or whatever, but I have 4 down there.
Mhm.
If I could create at least 2 other parking spaces there. So I think in that respect, in terms of the number of parking spaces, I think it more than covers. the concern.
One is inside the garage
Yes,
and one is in front of the garage.
yes.
Yes,
So if you want to pull the car out from inside the garage, you got to move the car out of the way from in front of.
well, there's a way of parking the car, so it's not blocking the garage.
Oh, okay.
It's not convenient, but it can be done.
So it seems like he has the approximate number of spaces. It's really, in my mind, it's a safety issue with that hill right there. And we talked a little bit, sorry, last month about you looking into maybe some sort of mitigation and coming up with, understanding what the site distance is and, figuring that out and seeing, what that actually is there.
I'm not familiar with the term site distance. so
Yeah, it's,
You're talking about what I was trying to address with the,
Yeah,
is that what we're referring to?
yeah, no, site distance is basically at a point when you're gonna enter the highway, how far you can see up the road. So a car has the time to stop without crashing into you. That, how much
Yeah,
site distance you
well, I
have.
don't recall having that addressed in the prior meeting, but as I said, I did sit down and with the computer here in the office, and we
Mhm.
came up with the distances.
Mhm.
Well, we also live in the house, so I can tell you by pulling out, people can see me from the top, and they can see me from the bottom. So it's not like they're getting into the house.
The top of your property.
I mean,
No, the top of the hill is like a hill that goes,
I went and backed my truck in there and pulled out and I couldn't see more than 50 feet past that fence around, like in the front.
I see people stopping for me, so they see me.
Well, that's a good thing that they're stopping.
but, okay, I'm not.
It's fine.
Go ahead. Speak freely.
I mean, as I, again, I don't want to repeat myself, we measured. I'm not I survey, I'm not an architect, I don't know. As far as elevation, as far as, it's not my purview, my expertise.
Mhm.
If I'm forced to hire an architect, an engineer, a surveyor, I'd rather not spend the money. But if you folks want to come by and take a look, you're welcome. I mean, but again, you were talking about backing out onto the road. You don't have to back out onto the
Well, you
road.
gotta back in then, right?
Sorry,
You gotta back in then.
back in, no, you pull in, it's facing the wall. There's a retaining wall there.
Mhm.
The only backing that you'd be doing is on my property.
We can probably get, do you think we could get one of the county highway guys to come out and measure the site distance with us?
You can certainly ask. I don't know that it would be too much of an ask if they're in this area or anything like that. I mean, I think.
we can get John Byrock to help us, the highway
I
superintendent.
believe so. I mean, my understanding is that it's really, the height is to simulate, you're in a sitting position within a car and you're not on the edge of the driveway because you're in your vehicle, your car's not yet out of the road. So it's from that point that they would then
Mhm.
take a line of sight and wherever you go. I think that that's certainly with a couple of people, if someone was helping John out, I don't see why they couldn't
Mhm.
get, an idea of that.
Does the board feel
I
that?
think, why don't we table it, see what we can,
Okay, so I do a lot of work for town, Middletown, kind of gratis. So I think I can get the highway superintendent out there and measure the site distance for us and give us what it actually is, so we can make an intelligent decision. And if it's more than he thinks it's required,
Well, what is required?
Well, according to him, it's 70,
70 feet or?
according to Stanley.
it's a measure of the grade of the road, the speed that you're traveling down the road. Usually is how you calculate site distance. Rough rule of thumb is it's 10 feet per mile an hour. So if it's 55-mile-an-hour road, you need 550
Well, it's
feet.
not as far as I know, it's 30.
So then you need 300 feet. Roughly,
100 feet,
roughly. That's just the rough rule
30,
of thumb.
if it's 30 miles an hour, 300 feet.
Yeah, 10 feet per mile per hour. That's a rough rule of thumb that people look at. But
So I have a question.
sure, man.
So if we were just to rent the house, right?
Excuse me.
Rent the house without doing Airbnb. Do you have restrictions for parking then? I mean, I can rent it to 10 people.
They don't have a review if you were just renting it long.
There is no review.
The request and approval is specific to the tourist home, which is the short-term rental requirement. They don't have
That's
any
what we,
jurisdiction over the home otherwise.
that's what we talked about last month, that it's an existing two-family structure. So if you wanted to rent it, monthly, there's no review by us.
Right.
There's no question, you could do that. Right, it's the discussion that we had was, if you're gonna do short-term rentals and people don't really know that area and they rent it and they don't realize that people are coming down that road and they have to be really careful right there. It
Well,
has
there's a
to be,
booklet that comes out for the Airbnb guests.
it's what?
You print a book that comes out to the Airbnb guests. And you describe in detail what's gonna happen when you go into the house, what you have to be careful with, all these things you can become, you can make the guest aware of.
I understand, and you're gonna assume that they're gonna read that book.
I mean, I can, you can drive, and you know the road very well, and you can have a problem, so.
Right,
What I would like, frankly, is the town to enforce the speed limit on that road, because one way or the other, I don't like the way people drive on it, frankly.
I agree with you.
But that doesn't seem to happen.
Okay, and then the other question I had is, it's a two-family, can we rent one part of the house at this point? Because we're
I said
living in one,
Airbnb. is
Yeah,
that what you
I-
mentioned?
so if this will allow 2 parking spots, which we are legal. that way.
The application right now in front of us is for 2 Airbnb units, and changing the application. Is that
Well,
what
we
you'd
can
like
do
to
it in stages, because we've been losing money, waiting for this approval, and now we want us to wait for another month and another month, so
Mhm.
we're going into the season.
I don't think it really benefits anyone to have one Airbnb, because you can have an accident in one Airbnb and 2 Airbnbs. It's all about, we're just thinking about safety.
Okay, so put big signs, and then we have no problem with safety. This is not something that's new.
So last month, we said, come in with a proposal for safety,
Okay,
right?
so
Show
there's
us,
signage.
show us the signs you're gonna put in.
Excuse me, we've never had that.
We
That was
talked
never
about,
part
we
of it.
talked about a mirror. You're gonna get a mirror, put a
I
mirror.
said we can, I didn't say I would. I'm very careful.
If you want us to supply this.
If you want me to get
let's
away
do
with it,
it,
yes,
we
but
don't
I
wanna-
never committed myself and said I was going to put a mirror. What am I putting a mirror if that's not gonna be acceptable?
I think the board was looking for, possible solutions from your application as to their concern. So I
Well,
think,
we're not aware of what concerns us at this point either, and they're not aware.
well, I think the board is concerned if they have to put their approval on this, further use of it, that they want to make sure that the parking situation is safe. I mean, I think the way the zoning code is written, it prohibits anyone backing in or backing out. I understand that now you've looked at it and could do that, but, you may want to show them, measure it out in a circulation plan to show that.
First of all, I just want to say we have to be very friendly to people that want to have businesses in the village. And I feel that us as a group are a little combative. So let's just try to give these wonderful people a benefit of help and understanding. And that's where we should sit right now.
I would appreciate.
So that, you
I
know,
know, if somebody gave me guidance.
yeah, we want everybody to be happy in the village and we want it to thrive.
Right.
And as far as some certain things that are a challenge, they're a challenge, but let's try to help and figure it out. That's, that's what I want.
That's what we're doing for 2
I
months.
don't think so.
You weren't here last month. That
Okay.
was the conversation last
Yeah.
month.
Last month, we thought,
That was that mirror, I mean, that was a good idea.
yeah, if you get permission from the people's property.
Yeah,
then put
yeah,
it on.
Somebody else
right,
owns the
right,
property
of
across the
course.
road.
The signs are a good idea. The mirror is a good idea. Will it all work?
Signs. The mirror, here you can see what's going on each side. If you come in Brushers Road, the first exit, driveway, you come onto Brushers Road, you actually can't see nothing because you got the damn big piers there, okay? But he got mirror here and mirror there, and you can look beautiful up Brushers Road and down Brushers Road. Now, I think that would be actually the solution instead of talking about this and that and all that,
Rush.
You know what I'm saying, talking about? No, you know what I'm talking about.
The
The
last
land
one on
across the
Rushers
street
Road.
belongs to somebody else.
And where the print shop used to be, sit below that.
Yeah.
You own a property on the road?
No, that property was owned by Peggy O'Connell's sons.
Okay, but it's owned by someone else, and so there has to
Is he
be
still in the
permission.
town or?
There has to, it has to
I don't
be,
know where.
there's a lot more that goes
I
into
don't
this
know.
thing. We
I
can't just
really-
put up a mirror on
Give
somebody
us
else's
a
property.
just opportunity and we'll buy it. We don't know what we need to do.
Okay,
I don't, all I'm trying to avoid doing is spending time, money, and find out, well, that's not gonna work, that's not gonna meet our requirements. If I had clear requirements, I'll meet the requirements, but I don't know what your requirements are. I understand what's in that book, but I don't understand other than that, what clear requirements are.
So I think the requirement can simply be stated as a safe means of ingress and egress from the parking onto the roadway.
How do you define that? Your definition of what's safe, and my definition, and that.
So there are standards. That's why I thought we could get the highway superintendent from the town to come out and measure that. Whenever we put a driveway in, or we get a driveway permit from the town, right? There's an application, and on it, it says you need 200 feet of sight distance in either direction for the driveway permit. That's what it's on, right? And it's got to be safe. So I don't think there's any issue, anybody on this board saying that the Airbnb at that site is a good use for that site, right? It's all about safety, getting out onto the road and back. That's the only concern, right? It's on sewer, it's on water, right? It's functional. These folks invested some money in it, and they'd like to get a return on it, and we're happy to help them. We just need to make it safe. That's our only.
The fact that they don't have to back out, that doesn't ameliorate it.
I pulled my truck. I have a pickup truck. I drove there before last meeting.
You're trespassing.
a quick
I
question
trespass.
for
I'm
you.
joking. but
I did trespass.
Would we need to wait a full month, or can we do a special meeting, say in 2 weeks after John Byrock can go, rather than waiting until?
We can definitely do the session.
Great idea.
All right, would that be okay?
July.
Rather, normally we do meetings once a month on the beginning of the month. However, if we can call a special meeting just for this issue, after John Byrock has been to your property and has seen what the issues may or may not be, we can address this sooner rather than you having to wait until June.
Well, that
But
helps.
this gentleman is part of.
He's code enforcement, he's not involved in the checking the site distance and the safety of the property as it relates to parking.
I'm still not clear. The fact that they don't have to back out, they can pull that out forward. That doesn't help to solve this problem.
Okay, so let's make some appointment.
Okay, so I'll call John. He's the highway superintendent for the town of Middletown. Right, I'll try to get a couple dates from him. I'll call you so you can be there.
Okay.
Okay, We'll go there together.
Okay.
We'll see if it's feasible or not feasible. All right, and I'll have him put a little report together in writing. And I'll try to get that done this week.
Okay.
And maybe we can talk about signage with the mayor, or, and see if we could add some slow signs or something like that.
Did the
I
mayor
don't
get
actually
involved yet?
don't know how that works.
I don't even
There
know.
is no
what it
mayor
is.
yet.
Yeah, no.
Oh, for that.
Oh, she stays on it?
That is not on the planning boards.
To add street signs?
No.
No.
That has
okay.
nothing to do with us.
But John can recommend his letter and
Okay.
report that he puts together, that you put maybe a series of signs, blind
Or would that be
drivers.
just regular board members at a regular town meeting, unrelated to this application?
Town board, village board members.
Village board
That's,
members.
we have to go to get the signs.
Okay, so, we could do a suggestion to them.
No.
perhaps. No,
It's
No,
not
well,
us.
that's not part of our
oh,
area of expertise.
gotcha.
I mean, it's an unsafe area in the
It
absence
is.
of this application.
Right,
Anyone
You're
from
right.
Ware wants to go and say, hey.
That's what I'm saying,
Can
when
the village do something great?
We don't do
But
that.
as
Okay.
individuals, we absolutely could.
Oh,
What
okay.
I would suggest, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
I would suggest somebody post the speed limit. No, I don't even think it's posted.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't think so.
Okay,
And we're all guilty sometimes of going down faster than normal, because I've done it.
fast.
It's
I
like,
drive
because you're going down the hill and you just keep on going.
But, and I don't know what the town's, I assume the town has concerns about liability. I assume that helps address some of the liability questions. It's not posted, I don't think.
okay. So I'll give him a call. He starts at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll be on the phone to him at 6:10. Or else you don't get him for the whole day. So, and I'll schedule that and I'll call you. Do we have this gentleman's phone numbers on the application?
Yes.
Okay. And then we'll give you guys a call and we'll schedule a time that works for everyone. I'll contact everybody so everybody can go if they want to. Carl, we'll contact you if you want to go. And then we'll figure it out. We'll try to figure it out.
Fair enough. What I would like, well, if he could, I can enlarge that parking area.
Okay,
So if that's a recommendation, I'll enlarge it.
okay.
I mean, in advance of them meeting, if it's something where, don't go ahead and do it, unless it's something you want to do. But if you can stake it out and say, here's where I think I was thinking about doing it, they're up there and can take a look at it as well.
There's not a huge amount that I can have, but there's enough.
And you know where to buy the blocks too.
Sorry?
Oh, sorry. yeah.
Yeah, wireless now
I
actually
joke.
has those. I'm concerned with me rolling down.
All right. So I'll be in touch by
I might
tomorrow.
make a stop at Cody White.
Right. And then everybody's good that we can get together fairly
Yeah.
quickly.
We're gonna make a motion for the meeting in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, at the most. I would think.
So it's gotta be advertised, so we got so many days for that to do.
Yes, I think we can just put a sign on the front door too, is enough for an advertisement.
I don't know.
Oh, we'll find out. We'll find out. So do I have a motion
I'll make a motion to have a meeting
to table this?
table it and then have a special meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay,
Depending on how it does with John Byrock, the highway superintendent from the town of Middletown, to set up site distances for us. So we have a better idea what's going on. And also this way we can all go out, take a look at the property and go, geez, you can get back around here, go give us room to make a turn and get them out, turned around in New York.
you got that motion?
Wow, that's a hell of a motion.
I'll second that. I'm not repeating it.
Your folks are setting up another meeting at this point, or
Yeah, because what happens is
when
that
in the middle, I have some medical concerns I have to address.
Okay,
What date are we for? I have a medical concern.
We can do it by the video, the Zoom thing, if we have to.
Well,
I know.
I'm gonna be having anesthesia. I don't think I'll be doing it.
Okay, that's
could you attend or are you going with
I
them?
prefer to.
okay.
So I know in my procedures, I have a procedure on the 13th, the 12th.
Are you gonna be here all week this week?
Sorry.
Are you gonna be here this week?
Yes.
I'll try to get set up the
what's the
meeting with John
minimum
right
we
away.
I don't wanna-
need to
I
advertise a
just-
special meeting?
Right.
What's the minimum amount of days to let the public know
Try to
there's a
get done.
special meeting?
Thank
Do
you.
you know
If they're
what?
gonna have a special meeting, they have to
I
at
know,
least
I
kind
have
of
to
loosely
do
schedule it while there's a quorum of them together. So if they're saying in about 2 weeks, I think that gives them the flexibility that
So when are you
Have
gonna
that
be
date.
around?
tomorrow.
if
If you
I
could
won't
tell
be
me
the
by tomorrow,
12th of May, that's for
I
sure.
am pushing her.
Okay.
And do it before the public.
And asking if we could then-
This
Okay.
is calendar.
So here's the deal. So if we can get this done, and this is pushing it tomorrow, if I am way in hell, it's possible that she can get it in on Wednesday for advertising, and we can get to this sooner in hopes that we're done in time for whatever it is you need to have done.
It would be in next week's paper.
It would be in next week's paper, and then how much time, okay, it has, but if it, okay.
I think open meetings law is 5
If it gets
days.
published in the paper on
days.
a Wednesday, can we hold the meeting on that Thursday, or do we need a certain amount of time after it's published before we can hold a meeting?
And to, you should say 5 days.
Yeah, I mean, open meetings law talks about, emergency meetings and things like that, so it could be deemed that, and, to Jason's point, you have to show an effort in the event it's challenged, which again, I don't know that it's being challenged, but it's, you would post something.
Are you talking
on the
about another
bulletin
public
boards.
meeting? Not a public meeting, right?
Well, they're all public meetings, there would be a
Or-
public hearing,
A public, that's what I meant, no public hearing for that. Okay,
No.
Okay.
there wouldn't have to be notices, neighbors, that was tonight,
Oh, that, yeah.
so
But
anyone.
we still
who-
have to put the next meeting in the paper?
If you're gonna do a special meeting.
10-3 was scheduled.
That isn't your normal advertising. So what the village does to save money is once a year, they put, the meetings are on this day, every,
Gotcha.
third Tuesday, or first Monday. So to alter that, they have to.
Even though it's not a public hearing, it still has to be.
That's right, 'cause they're all public
Okay,
meetings.
Gotcha.
In the meantime, is there anything I need to address prior to that?
Well, I'm gonna try to get them out there tomorrow,
Okay,
right, if I can. I'm
I
gonna
can't
try,
wait to hear from you.
I'll be around.
right, and
Thank you.
he's kind of an early guy, if it's early, I'll just knock on the door.
I'm awake. I'm not awake. I haven't had my coffee yet, but I'm awake.
And I know it's come up, it hasn't necessarily a suggestion of the board, but we've talked about the property across the street a few times. If that's a property owner you want to reach out to or have a means to about the
I don't know
mirror
who
or
they
anything
are.
else.
I don't know who
Yeah.
they are.
And if they allow it to go on.
I'm was throwing that out there just in the interest of time, if that comes up again,
And
I think you can get the information, the ownership from that same
Yeah.
website.
My primary, what my primary interest actually before doing a bed and breakfast is to have a safe environment. I'm concerned about my assets and protecting my assets. You know, lawyers aren't fun. I hope there's no lawyers in the room here, but
They know.
He can get the address of the neighbor from you, right, from the tax records we have here.
It should be on that paperwork.
Oh, yeah,
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 but
we
I
sent a
don't know.
notice to them.
it doesn't identify the property that they own. It just gives me names.
Doesn't know
I'm
which
not
one
there where you
belongs
want
to
the
that.
mirror.
one.
I mean, you're putting a.
But
I can,
Well, I would have to look.
I
on
can,
that
I'll do
map
that
and
tonight
see.
and hand it to you tomorrow.
All right.
It's very simple.
I work for him.
I don't know who there's no name, there's no property.
I'll hand you that
So we can
as soon as
build.
I come to the property. It's very simple.
But it's not clear to me where you want this mirror. When you come there.
Well, when he comes, we'll go over it.
Okay,
I'm
Okay.
good.
okay.
All right, thank
Try
you.
to figure it out.
Well, you expect them there before the next meeting or
Excuse me?
before the next meeting or that's just the stipulation of
What, the mirror?
the
I
mirror?
don't even know if the mirror is a good idea. You know, I'm not sure. Like,
Yeah, we'll just-
I'm not sure.
yeah. Let's start with the highway superintendent, okay?
Okay.
And
Thank you.
I'll get him there as soon as I can.
Right.
Okay, thank you for your patience.
Thank you and thanks for your time.
Anything else come from the board?
I'm not-
No, just, I thought you did the agenda. If there's something that didn't get on the agenda, that was the question. No.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. folks.